On Robin Hood Radio, we live in an area that is dominated, I'll say, by senior citizens. And I am now one of those senior citizens at 68 years of age. But I know when I was the caretaker for my mom the last 8 or 10 years of her life, I found out the many unbelievable agencies that abound in our areas to make life easier and better and fuller for senior citizens and the people, the family members that care for those senior citizens. And one of those places that I've learned about, which we talk about, is the Western Connecticut Area Agency on Aging. And right now, here on Robin Hood Radio, we're welcoming in Audrey Cole, who's the Senior Medicare Patrol Coordinator of Volunteers at the Western Connecticut Area Agency on Aging. Audrey, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, you're welcome. It's a privilege.
So let's talk a little bit. I mean, I really, like I said, now that I'm part of the senior citizen community, but still even before that, dealing with my mom, let's talk about the mission and what the Western Connecticut Area Agency on Aging is. I know that you're a nonprofit corporation, but let's get a little more background information on the agency.
Okay, well, there are 5 area agencies in the state of Connecticut, and the Western Connecticut one covers 41 towns in the northwest corner. It goes all the way from Salisbury all the way over to Barkhamsted, down to Cheshire, and over to Ridgefield. It's a huge swath of towns that we cover. Of those, 4 are more urban areas, but 37 of them are really rural towns. And we offer all kinds of services. For example, in Medicare, if you call the 800 number in Washington, they'll ask you for your zip code, and then they will many times refer you to our agency, because based on where you live, there's an agency in every state in the country to assist you, and so that's why they'll ask you your zip code. People are probably familiar with Meals on Wheels. Our agency does that. We have an Alzheimer's program. And, of course, the famous Choices program, which assists people in enrolling in Medicare, and if they aren't satisfied with their plans, switching into different plans. We have a really large open enrollment event that we have every year at Noble Horizons. So some of your listeners are probably much more familiar with us in Salisbury. But we're trying to spread our outreach in all the more rural towns, because I myself, I don't have enough volunteers in my program, SMP, Senior Medicare Patrol, to really be the eyes and ears on the ground of fraud, errors, and abuses, which I deal with in the Medicare program.
You know, it's interesting you bring that up there, because you're correct. I mean, we have an area where people, senior citizens aren't forgotten in this area. It doesn't matter if they go into Noble Horizons, into Gear, or where. They're still active members of the community, and those organizations in the community really like to interact and get together. So senior citizens remain an active part of the community. But there's a lot of information that needs to get out. I know, working in broadcasting my whole life, when I was dealing with my mother, I thought I knew a lot about agencies that could help my mom out and different things. I knew about 1/10 of what I needed to know.
Well, I did too. I took care of my elderly parents before they both passed, and I've always put aside at least one day a week to volunteer. I volunteer in other things. I do environmental work. And then after my parents, and I utilized the services of the agency. You know, they happened to be well off and so forth, but there were still services I need, and they counseled me in my direction. So after I went through the grieving process of a couple of years, I decided to call them up, and I initially started as a volunteer myself. I'm a staff person now, and I just want people to know our volunteers are from people, college students, all the way. One of my best volunteers, her name is Virginia. She's 87 years old, and she is one of my most active and committed volunteers. I hope she doesn't mind that I told her age on air. But
So now let's talk a little bit about the Senior Medicare Patrol and the volunteers you need. Describe what it involves, what it takes, and how do volunteers contact you, and do you have training programs for this?
Yep. Well, Senior Medicare Patrol, it's been around for 25 years. It started as a pilot program, and then through the years it's become much more sophisticated, and we have much more intensive training. What happened is the health, and it's administered through the Administration for Community Living through the Office of the Department of Health and Social Services in Washington, but they don't have really the capacity to handle all the fraud that's occurring out there in Medicare. And Medicare is the one agency where billions, I mean really billions, hundreds of billions of dollars are lost in that program, more than any other federal agency. So they set up this program really for retired professionals or students or whomever to really be very thoroughly well-trained in our program, and then to be the eyes and ears on the ground of actual frauds occurring in the community. We go out, we do outreach, we give presentations. Some of my volunteers just want to distribute information out of healthcare. Other people want to do our more extensive confidentiality training and become counselors, because aside from presentations, I actually handle cases, and some of the cases are very complicated. There are cases that could be as simple as that the right information wasn't gotten to a doctor or provider or hospital and they weren't billed correctly, or it could be actual abuse, billing abuses. There was a General Accounting Office report that came out in June, for example. The Advantage plans, which are private plans that people can sign up through Medicare on, they recently did a report where they found that in a person's last year of life, these Advantage plans are dropping them off of the private plans that they signed up for, which they were very happy with. They don't technically drop them, but they put them in this horrible appeals process as they're very ill. So they get switched over to original Medicare, which we know as traditional Medicare, and the government is suddenly paying these outrageous end-of-life bills that the Advantage plans no longer want to pay for. We consider that abuse, and I report those cases as they come into us.
It is abuse, and you know, if you watch any TV at all, the abuse goes out to, and this happens not only to seniors, but it happens to everybody. You see these commercials, and they say, if you've got knee pain or back pain, and you see Medicare will pay for this. Just let us know, you won't get a bill and everything. That's all included in what you're talking about, isn't it?
Absolutely. We have people. There are a lot of imposter scams out there, people representing the government or a reputable agency or doctor, and they get people to give them their Medicare number card. They bill them for a false or misleading genetic testing. And these genetic testing scams that are out there now, they bill $7,000 to $10,000 to $15,000 Medicare, which is a lot of money. These brace scams, they occur too, but they're like a $1,200 or $1,500 scam in terms of the billing Medicare fraudulently. So we're always on the lookout for these. And people within the community, it's just not the person on Medicare. It could be a family member. It could be a caregiver who could see this going on. So we rely on all kinds of people to report the abuse. You just don't have to be a Medicare beneficiary.
It's interesting because I'm now going through a couple of different procedures on my knees, stem cell replacement therapy, and one of my knees, I didn't even know it, I lost the ACL, okay? And when I was speaking to my doctor, he said, you're going to need a brace, because I don't want to replace my knee.
Correct.
He said, so you're going to need a brace, and then I stopped him right there, and so I said, please don't tell me that these are the braces that I see on. He goes, no. We deal with authorized Medicare-approved companies, because the brace that you're going to get is made specifically for you. And no, it's not like that at all. And yes, Medicare will pay for it. So I learned right there the difference that I felt so bad. How many people out there have no idea that the brace that they ordered watching TV is really non-existent because it's not made for them, and how much I thought to myself, how much money is being lost down the drain?
Absolutely correct. But you said something key. You had this conversation with your doctor.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell people immediately. I said, if you don't know the provider, if it's not your doctor or someone who your doctor referred to you, do not order it. Do not give out your Medicare number. Do not give out your birth date. Do not give out your legal name. These are all ways that scammers, basically rob our beloved Medicare program. And then on top of it, once they get your Medicare number, they do other things with it. They sell it on the dark web, to other people, aside from fraudulently billing Medicare. So the scam is kind of like a multiplier, once they get the confidential information.
So now what we want to talk about is a training session that you have coming up.
Right. So every year, our state director in Hartford at the Department of Aging and Disability Services, she will speak and come to usually our office. In the old days, we did it in person, and our volunteers loved it because they're also engaged. They meet other professionals and people who want to keep busy and continue contributing and using their knowledge, even though they're retired or they're working part-time. But now, because of COVID-19, we're going to do it hybrid. The people who don't want to drive, because our office is in Waterbury, I've been trying to find a site up in the community. Maybe down the road, I can do them on my own with people like Gear or Sharon Hospital, for example. We'll do out on-site ones. But we're going to do a hybrid, so people who can't drive in can also do it on Zoom. But they have to first fill out an application, do a brief interview with me, so we can set up the appointment. It's a Wednesday, September 29th.
All right, and what can people expect when they sign up for this? If it's Zoom, what can they expect, and how long does it take, and everything like that?
Okay, well, we're basically going to start around 9 o'clock. We think we're going to go till almost 1 o'clock. The presentation is going to be a PowerPoint, and we're going to have 2 or 3 short breaks in between, and then we'll break for lunch, and there's an assessment that you get at the end. And what you're going to basically learn is, oddly enough, basics of Medicare, because you can't really be good in the program without having a fundamental understanding of the frauds and what Medicare involves. So we teach you about Part A, Part B. We teach you Part C, which are the private advantage plans. Part D, which are the drug plans. We teach you about the supplementals that you could get. A lot of frauds occur in all these areas. So, and then we tell you about what we do and the types of roles that you can have in the Senior Medicare Patrol. As I said, some people just want to hand out information, and some people want to become trained counselors. That is long-term additional training because we handle confidential materials. We keep everything in a secure place in our offices. People give us, because our choices counselors who enroll people, for example, they offer unbiased, commission-free counseling. And we have to have all our volunteers trained in confidentiality because they have to know the strict guidelines on not sharing information or discussing it that people give us. And so there's a whole level of, to become a counselor, to give presentations, and there's much more additional training. But the initial, we call it SMP Foundations Training, where you learn the basics of our program, and you kind of decide if you want to move on at your own pace. And I will assist people on that. We talk on it as we move forward and see what roles they're more comfortable in.
Okay, and this session is coming up, once again, the date and the time?
It's September 29th. It will begin at 9 o'clock, but we're probably going to stop the enrollment on it around September 10th because I have to look at everybody's application, and then I do a brief interview and orientation so everyone is comfortable, with it. And I talk about the program and the various roles they could have. We do a possible background check on people, and they have to be comfortable with that. Some people want to just volunteer 1 day a week or a few hours a week or once a month. It's a very flexible program.
Now, do you ever go out on the road and do presentations like this? Let's say a business or someone
all
wants...
the time. We go to clubs. I will show up if there's probably at least 2 or 3 people. And I've had 20 or 30. And by the way, we're also trying to do outreach into our underserved communities like the Spanish-speaking community that has been really hit terribly hard by the COVID-19. A lot of their websites and phone numbers are even inoperative. So we are trying to get these presentations and group meetings. And also, as I said, I am joined at the hip with the Choices program, which is the state health insurance sign-up program for Medicare. And we basically, a lot of times, it's like Mutt and Jeff, Tom and Jerry, we give them together.
Once again, right now, we are speaking here on Robin Hood Radio with Audrey Cole, Senior Medicare Patrol Coordinator with Volunteers, Western Connecticut Area Agency on Aging Training. Now, for people that are listening that might be members of the Lions Club or any of the service organizations, or even if you have a business that you'd like, what number can they contact if they'd like to bring someone like you out and talk to their employees, their people that come into their shops, the people that come into the different social service club meetings? What's the easiest way for people to contact you?
I have been going into the office on a regular basis. We do have strict guidelines about people coming in with mask wearing and being fully vaccinated and so forth. The number to call is 203-757-5449, and I'm at extension 127, so you can punch that number in right away, and it will go. I'll pick up if I'm there. If I'm not, it will go to my voice box. But I do want to let everybody know that one reason I want to train people in the basics, foundations, and get people in the rural community, that they can assist us by setting up these presentations in group meetings in their chess club, or I think there's a bridge club out there that we'd like to maybe come and speak in front of for half an hour or whatever. But if we have people on the ground who have our basically, our primary initial training, then they can assist us in contacting all these groups, because I'm kind of one person. So I really want kind of a cadre of people out there assisting me with all this work.
Once again, so if you're listening to this broadcast and you're a member of any of the organizations, the Exchange Club, the Lions Club, the Rotary Club, whatever, or you got a business and you'd like to have something like this that you'd like to put together, the number to call is 203-757-5449. And that's extension 127. Before we go, I mean, does the future look bright for your program and the people on Medicare, or are there still questions up in the air? I tell you right now, I was one of the people that for many years, I went for 7 years without insurance until the Affordable Health Care Plan came in. And then when I got Medicare and I got Part 1 and 2, and then I added an additional plan on, I have paid $0 for my medical needs, which has just been absolutely fantastic.
True, that is true, but as you age, it's very common that you have additional needs. So your plan is perfect now. And by the way, if you have an employer plan, that is completely different. The Choices Counselor will get calls on people don't understand how their employer plan, once they retire or once they turn 65 and they continue working, how Medicare, or if they have an Advantage plan, actually works with Medicare. So we assist people in understanding that. I have in some of my presentations, I have retired teachers come up to me and say, maybe I should get off my plan and go on Medicare. And we say, you're absolutely nuts. The retirement teacher plans are like the gold standard. Or even if you're a retired state employee, they are the gold standard. You never give those up. And if you do by mistake or you were counseled incorrectly, you can't get back on them.
Well, you sound like your organization is a wealth of information, and I guess in a blunt sentence, I would say, folks, when you see these commercials on TV, don't call those numbers. Call you guys at 203-757-5449.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for your time. Please give us a call, and if I can't help you, I will direct somebody in our organization to the right person who will. We have a wonderful collegial staff who really, they bend over backwards to assist everybody.
So if you're listening now, folks, we'll have this up on our on-demand page, robinhoodradio.com. Click on on-demand, click on the interview section. You'll find this here. At that section, not only will be the interview, but there'll be information and links and telephone numbers that you can immediately find and save and use when you need to save, and use them when you need to use them. Well, Audrey, this has been, once again, another eye-opener for me at 68 years of age. Audrey, thanks for taking a few minutes and joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. And I hope your knee is up and running as good as new soon.